My next guest went from working for John Gotti and the Gambino family to being honoured as a celebrity reading hero, as well as meeting Sarah Brown at number 10. Louis Ferrante has written his memoir about his time as a mafia insider. It's called Tough Guy. It's out in paperback. Here it is. Louis joins me now. Louis, thanks very much indeed. What none of our viewers could see was how over the last minute we managed to send out to the car to get that brought in. That was all off camera, but here it is. Here it is.
Okay.
The Life and Times of a Mafia Insider. An amazing story, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank
you were 8 years in prison. You'd worked for the Gambino family. You'd seen some incredible things, and you, frankly, you've come out smiling, and you've written a wonderful book. But it can't have been easy.
No, it wasn't. It was very difficult at times. I had a roller coaster ride of life up to date, and it was a book that I did not want to write. Yeah. I learned how to write in prison, and I learned.
Is it fair to say you'd never read a single book before you went to prison?
That's correct. I'd never read a book in my entire life. I was literate. I did know how to read. Just never read a book, and I began to read in prison. The solitude was a blessing in the end. I had nothing to do but read, and I fell in love with books, and I read until the muscles in my eyes ached, and eventually I began to write. And how I learned to write was because there's no college or university courses in prison to teach you how to write. Yeah. I would read the great 19th century fictional authors and see how they developed plots and built characters and developed a storyline, and I would analyze each of those authors, knowing that the greatest works would display their greatest talents. And that's how I learned how to write, and I wrote fiction. When I came home, I desperately tried to publish my fiction. I have not yet been successful with that because the world has changed. Everyone likes true crime. So the publishers and agents, etc., wanted my...
Do you feel pigeonholed by that? Do you feel pigeonholed by the fact, well, here's a guy who was a Gambino insider, therefore he can only write about crime?
Yeah, absolutely. Very pigeonholed, and it was desperately frustrating at times, and I rolled with the punches, and eventually writing this book was a good thing because I refused for quite some time. Eventually I did break down and give them what they wanted, and it was very cathartic. It was therapeutic. I got it out of me, and now, being that I'm able to help so many people, I get emails from around the world saying how my book has changed their life. I've visited a number of prisons, youths at risk, and I get letters from people who would have gone down a horrible course, and they've changed their life around. Now that's refreshing.
That sounds like a sense of vocation that you have. You want to correct the errors that others may make, who've been given the same sort of life chances as you. You want to go back to prisons. How much is that driven by your faith? Because you converted actually to Orthodox Judaism whilst in prison. I think I'm right in saying that.
That's correct.
Is that partly where you're coming from and wanting to put something back in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a tremendous amount of guilt for the things that I've done. And
after the Catholic side of you?
Well, I guess regardless of which religion you choose, you live with guilt, and that's just a human thing. So I live with guilt, and but religion, obviously, a strong faith has gotten me through the things that I've been through, and it gives me a sense that maybe I have a purpose in life if I continue, and God gives me breath. I should use that in a good way, and maybe redeem myself for the bad things that I've done. So each time that I get a letter or an email from someone saying, gee, you've changed my life and I'm doing much better, I feel as if I'm trying to make up for the things I've done that in the past.
When I was reading the notes about your time in prison and your sort of the reading list which you effectively came up with, I mean, it was all the way from Daniel Steele and bodice rippers and airport novels right through to Gibbon's and the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. It's extraordinary.
Yeah. Actually, the first books that you'd mentioned, I mean, if I was in solitary confinement for any number of reasons, I would read anything that they pushed by me in the cart. Never turned down a book once I fell in love with books.
And presumably the prison guards loved you because you were no trouble.
Absolutely not. If they could, I mean, my cell was what they call a quote-unquote shakedown, is when they rummage through your cell looking for paraphernalia that shouldn't be there. Many times, if they could, they'd pass my cell up knowing I wasn't involved in anything. But sometimes I did lose everything if I was in a prison where the guards did not know me.
And what about the other inmates? Did they sort of think, oh, well, here's a boffin, he spends all his day, he's not one of us.
Prison isn't a place for cupcakes. A lot of times I had problems with people. They thought that I may have come in educated and had a university education and maybe tripped up somewhere in the criminal world and was doing 6 months. They didn't know that I came from a hard criminal background, and I learned this in prison. So a lot of times I would have to step up to the plate, put up my dukes, and have it out with somebody and let them know that I'm just like you. Yeah. But I'm desperately trying to change my life around, but don't take me for a softie. Yeah.
Amazing. So. And the letters that you get, I mean, how many are we talking about here? I mean,
I get a steady flow of email every morning. By the grace of God, I wake up every morning to a steady flow of email from around the world. The other morning, before I was on my way to receive a beautiful award, I received an email from a young man in Australia who said, "I'd never read a book before in my life, found your book, read it, and now I've read it twice, and I intend to read it a third time, and I'd love to start reading more books. And I thank you." And he said, "I just want to let you know that you're well known over here in the land down under," which was nice to hear.
You know, a lot said these days about the internet generation and people who maybe aren't reading as much as happened in previous generations. Maybe it's all about Twitter now, and it's, you know, sort of people using the internet, not reading so much. Does that worry you? Does it bother you that people can't use books in the way they did?
I think, and I'll answer it twofold. One is I would love to see more people reading books. I think there's a much larger, fuller, greater experience in a book than you would get from reading a magazine article, a newspaper article, or something from the internet, something that's brief. But the brevity of the world has created this generation of readers who like to just read something and on to the next. That said, I will say that it's better they read something than nothing. So I think that it is good that they're reading something, but there is a more complete experience in a book. It could change your life in many ways.
I must just ask you very briefly, Louis, I mean, I'm guessing you still obviously regret being sent to prison, but it had its upside in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Fate is very strange in everyone's life, how things happen. Probably you tell me a great story about how you ended up here on television.
It's pretty boring compared to yours, Louis, I have to tell you.
I'm sure it's not.
Look, let me just hold up your book one more time. This is Louis Ferrante's book. It's absolutely a terrific read. There you go. Tough guy.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much indeed for coming.
Thank you, Colin, for having me. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay.
This is Sky News with Colin Brazier on our website, skynews.com. Adam Bolton blogs on the first 100 days of the Obama presidency.